Good morning.
Okay, so there are people that I think a lot of people that don't watch this Netflix series and have no intention of watching the series Making a Murderer. However, Kristine was making fun of us right after the holiday.
I was making fun of Monaski and Keeler for watching the show and for getting so excited about it.
Became obsessed with it. You didn't watch it right off the bat.
I didn't. Yeah, you tipped me off.
And I was wrong. I became engrossed in the show.
Yeah,
it's an amazing show, unfortunately.
Stop texting me about
it.
It
Yeah.
No, that was Andrew.
Once you start, you're in. You're all in.
Because you're hoping that there's going to be a good outcome.
Yeah, there isn't. All right, so my focus is not as much. There's enough on Stephen Avery where I think the guy deserves. I believe he deserves. I don't know, guilt or innocence. Do you feel the same way?
Correct.
But improprieties that were done, enough things were done to say, oh my God, we need to get a new trial, and he needs to get out of Wisconsin for that trial.
And it certainly was the perfect case for TV.
Oh, it was.
It had all the makings of every ingredient that you'd ever want to keep you guessing and keep you on the edge of your seat, and a lot of hope going, saying this can't possibly happen, but it's being filmed real. It wasn't actors.
And there were no actors. That's the thing. You're watching real footage of everything.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying, well, they left a lot of stuff out. So when we're talking about that kid,
right.
Does it matter what was left out? Because we're not saying innocence or guilt here. At least I'm not.
Right.
I know people are. My point is, that was such an unfair process in America. I feel like this was a trial that you'd see in Iran or somewhere where those are just the facts. We're just going to let out the information. I can't believe the prosecution.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
You agree with that?
Absolutely.
What's your assessment?
Yeah, so there's so much going on. Do you want to talk about the 16-year-old first?
Mainly the 16-year-old.
Brendan Dassey.
Yeah, so with it's Brendan Dassey, I believe, right? Brendan. So with Brendan Dassey, when I saw that first of all, his original attorney, it just made my skin crawl when I saw that guy. I said, he's in it for the media.
Yeah,
he was just smiling, and it was, as a body language expert, it was just off the charts awkward.
Yeah.
Just, it's crazy. And then when he had his investigator come in, that was better than any police interrogation I've ever seen. That was so wrong on every level that I've ever seen.
With no representation whatsoever.
His attorney clearly wasn't there representing him, and this guy spoon-fed him exactly what he needed him to say
and draw
for their agenda.
This kid never came up
with the truth.
This kid never came up with what he did. He was told what he did. And
Correct.
he just, from
the get-go, and that's why when someone says, what's your opinion, you can't say, because it was tainted right from the beginning, and it's been scientifically proven. Actually, the study was done in Cornell University. When you continually tell somebody over and over and over again and question them about the same topic, their mind will shift and start to tell you things that you want to hear because they think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So you never really do know what the truth is.
Oh, I had a girlfriend like that once. It was so bad. By the end of the argument, I would be like questioning myself, thinking, oh my God, I must have did I do this? Have I caused this? And because you become confused. It just gets so surreal and your mind becomes...
Yeah, I'm not saying...
She was quite an interrogator, I gotta tell you.
Yeah. Usually your mom is the master interrogator.
You're right.
Try and lie to your mom. You can't get away with anything.
Yeah, and that's over cookies. This is over spending the rest of your life in jail.
Yeah, so when this guy was telling him exactly what he did and said that I need to help you, and he was putting words in his mouth, just the technique by itself was completely wrong. Now, as a person that does investigations, ultimately you're looking for the truth. Whether the truth helps your case or hurts your case, ultimately you should have as much pleasure deriving a guilty plea as exonerating the innocent, because the truth is on its own.
Really, that's what you're supposed to be getting. Is
Absolutely.
The truth. They had an agenda. They knew this family was guilty based on what the investigators said. Right. This was a one-branch family tree, and we need to chop this tree down.
And I'm sure there's people in your listening area that have been in some form of situation where they know they didn't do something, and they go to their trusted inner circle, and what a horrible feeling when they don't believe you.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of people probably had that feeling. And why should this be important to us?
I can tell you that many different reasons. On a note of when a case like this gets notoriety, usually you have a small town and they're doing the best they can with what they have.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you've got CNN parked in your parking lot, broadcasting live, and you're under a microscope.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. The average police officer, how much training do you think they have across America in interview and interrogation techniques? How much would you guess?
I would say everyone would have to go through interrogation training. Wouldn't that be the case?
It's only part of the basic police academy, and in
Okay.
that block it's 6 hours. 6 hours of
Wow.
training.
Wow.
And another interesting statistic is across America, 80% of all law enforcement agencies are probably 6-person agencies or less. So when you're talking about,
And turnover.
you know, yeah, exactly. So someplace like Dallas, Los Angeles, New York City, Detroit, those are big cities.
You get the small cities, they
But
don't have
9 times out of
expertise.
10, when you have, you know, Canastota, Oneida,
Right.
Whitesboro, wherever, these are small agencies. So
They need the help of the surrounding communities. What about the issue of Stephen Avery?
yeah,
This was the main character. He's now back in prison. Is it possible that a police officer, a deputy there, set him up?
anything's possible.
A lot had to fall into place.
It really did. It really did. I mean, the problem that I see with this is they played it very well for TV to
Yeah.
get you outraged. Why that is allowed to happen is because there's so many things that they could have done to prevent this from happening,
Right.
and they just didn't take advantage of those situations.
So maybe he did it, but the way the authorities handled it was so bad. My contention, and that I agree with you 100% on, my contention is he deserves another trial because it was so poorly done.
Yeah, I mean, it's so far gone now that the truth is so hard to derive.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
look at the interview techniques that they're doing, and I always see they always, for whatever reason, have the camera mounted so high.
Right.
You can never get a good look at their faces,
Yeah.
part of what I want to see.
Right.
And then the situation that they have, he's sitting at a table, not facing them, and then they had the situation where they're sitting on the couch and all that. If it was my job to interview those people, then I wouldn't have had that situation, because you want to assess their body language,
Yeah.
and you can't do it when they're laying on a couch.
The reason I feel this is so important for us is this could happen to anybody. This could happen to any kid. It could happen. And listen, well, around here, we're not going to see that happen. Okay, I understand that. But your kids travel. Your family travels. We travel. You could be caught up in the middle of something like this in another area. And maybe it's not Wisconsin, but maybe it's Mississippi.
Absolutely.
I don't know where. These things can happen in the United States.
Sure, it almost reminds me of that movie, My Cousin Vinny, for
Yeah,
God's
yeah.
sakes. You know, you're
Right.
traveling, like you say, and you find yourself in the middle of this thing, but that's why I'm such a huge advocate for training, because the first thing that people say is that, my God, look at the horrible techniques that they used. They probably did the best with what they could
Sure.
and what they had, and they had no training.
If they did certain things, proper interrogation, it removed anybody with a conflict of interest, removed them from the situation. If they would have done A, B, C, D,
Yep.
there wouldn't be a special,
That's
right?
right.
You'd
That's
know whether or not and believe that this guy was guilty or not guilty.
Absolutely.
Really interesting. Okay, your website again is...
MattEpiscopo.com.
And we're going to have you back next week because you've come up with a strategy that, when you're getting ready to vote, you'll be able to tell.
If your favorite politician is telling the truth or lying.
Really?
Absolutely.
We need this skill here in studio. All right, I think I sometimes have it, but sometimes it's like pretty obvious.
Absolutely.
These are the things, though, they're more subtle, and they can help you watching your political candidates, or maybe...
And I would love everyone to have that advantage and make up their own mind.
in another way. Good stuff. Matt, thanks. Quick break. We'll come right back.